And welcome back to Who Would Win. Today's Who Would Win comes to us from The Mask. There may have been more. This kind of came up at last minute. I actually had to alter the Who Would Win for today because I couldn't find the characters the person was asking for in the other one. So, unfortunately, to that person, and don't even have the person here. I just couldn't do the what. So this had to be the tag in the extra what Who Would Win. I kept saying what if the Who Would Win. So if anyone else is giving me this suggestion, sorry if I have not suggested you. I'm not giving you props. But the math asks who would win a fight: Pinhead versus the Creeper. Two seemingly immortal beings who delight in the torture of others for their own ends. I did Pinhead actually pretty early, not early, but during I think the week of Who Would Win, I did Pinhead. I'm not going to bother trying to remember the guy's name at this point. He was a colonel, I think he was a soldier in the First World War. He became desensitized and ultimately found the Lament configuration and became Hell's priest. He is the leader of the Cenobites. As such, he is the one who generally commands them. It is a little difficult to gauge his power sometimes, though. He's technically been defeated by other Cenobites, but then just come right back after it's like, well, you sucked. I'm back in charge. That's kind of what happened, I think, in that, what was it? Which movie was it? The third, fourth? I can't remember which one it was. Might even just been the second. The Hellraiser series is not one I'm particularly fond of, just because I'm not a big torture gore kind of guy. And I wouldn't say torture porn per se. This is not torture porn, but it is definitely on the gore side of things, and torture is involved. Either way, though. Still, he's exceptionally powerful. Now, I looked into one big thing people have often said, that he's a multiversal, universal individual. And because he was opening the gates and bringing hell onto the plane of Earth in one movie. But that's because he was separated from the human half of him, so there was nothing holding him back. Technically speaking, that's true, but that's a big caveat people leave out when they bring up that level of power, and I could find nothing else to back that statement up beyond that. So if we're looking at Pinhead as is, we have to look at Pinhead as it is. If anyone wants me to look at a fully unleashed Pinhead, let me know. But you have to specify Pinhead without his human half. Still, though, he is the Lord of Pain, pretty much. He is, he is the Lord of Pleasure and Pain. He will tear your soul apart. Obviously, one of his big abilities is summoning chains from nowhere, anywhere. For skewering, butchering, torturing, tearing, all of that. But beyond that, he's also capable of a couple of other things. He's capable of mental manipulation. He is an expert in torture, so just because he can use chains doesn't mean it's his only way of torturing people. He is relatively impervious to any normal means of damage. Like, bullets don't really do anything. Yeah, a shotgun in theory might put him to the ground for a moment, but he'll just get right back up. I don't recall that ever happening, but in theory, yeah. Hypothetically, if you nuked him, what would happen? That's the problem I always have with any of these supernatural individuals like this. What happens if you get and maybe not a nuke, but like a bomb? What happens if you actually have a bomb? And I mean like a bomb. Again, not nuke, but just a bomb that could level a city block. Or what happens if you get a nuke? Vaporize his ass. Would he still be able to come back from that? My guess is yes, because he's connected to the Lament configuration. Has his power comes directly from the Leviathan, which is essentially their deity, their cosmic eldritch being that they not worship and take orders from. It's more complicated than that. But apparently these Cenobites also have a level of pyrokinesis, where they can cause explosions however they want. But they are bound by a couple of rules. They do not seek to torture the innocent. Which movie was it? Oh God, was it the second one? I want to say it's the second one, where there's, I believe, an autistic girl, and I don't remember if she opened the box or if she was just there after the box was open. And one of the Cenobites went to go play with her, and he actually said, no, we don't do that. We have rules. And even in the newest movie, the way they beat Pinhead, which I only saw parts of the newest movie, but I watched it, I'm like, you know what? The parts I saw weren't bad. The way they beat them in the newest movie was basically the fact that The idea is that they were kind of being genius. Like, we'll grant you a wish. What's the cost of the wish? And she's like, no, I'm just gonna live with it. I'm gonna live with everything I did. I'm gonna live with that pain. And it's like, so you've chosen a lament configuration, basically a prison of pain, and because of that, they lost. They went back. I mean, technically they didn't lose. They just like, it's a draw, basically. So you can outsmart the Cenobites as well. It is tricky, but you can do it. There is nothing that says they're really affected by holy weaponry at all, despite being from hell. After all, Pinhead is seen in a movie in a church, and he just like manipulates the candle flames and all that. So clearly they're not affected by like God or anything like that, at least in stepping on holy ground in that sense. Maybe if God actually got involved, there could be an argument there, but I can't recall a moment where that happened, at least in the movies. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments on that. Maybe in the comics, but I never read the comics. So again, correct me if God ever got involved with the Cenobites at all. Still, though, he's an immensely powerful individual. But again, he's not impervious against individuals similar to like other Cenobites. He can be hurt, and he can be beaten. Although, to be fair, he was in a weakened state when that happened. So anyway, the Creeper, we still don't know the true origins of. It's believed the Creeper is A, one of two things. A, he's either an alien. B, he's a demon. There's also a fun theory, maybe he's a Glimmer, which is the same species as Pennywise. But look, I don't buy that. I just think it's a funny theory. Because when you think about it, they work the same way. They do. They, at least in a very similar way, they sleep for God knows how many years at a time, are only awake for a certain amount of time, and eat people. Or he's like a subset of like Pennywise's species or whatever. I don't buy that, obviously. There's nothing that says they're in the same universe, whatever. It's a funny theory, I think. My best guess, all I'm going by is best guess here, is he's probably some sort of parasitic demon. And the reason I say that is all of his tech that we see is pretty simplistic. He doesn't have a spaceship. He has a truck, a death machine, a literal death machine, but a truck. So either he's crash landed, his ship is destroyed, and maybe he re-outfitted it into the truck, or he didn't even have the ship, maybe, and it's theorized that the actual hood is the creature, and that's the only part that matters. Whereas everything else is just kind of like a host body for it to move around. Because it seems to be, the Creeper is amazingly resilient. It can take gunfire. Again, this is the inconsistencies of some of these films, though, as it went on, where the Creeper could be put down, or could be at least put down temporarily with like a shotgun, but then a freaking Gatling gun, I think it was in the third movie, couldn't bring the damn thing down. He was just flying through it, didn't even flinch. But then he can get run over by a car, is limping. He could tear his own damaged head off and replace it. Hence why it's believed the hood is the real creature, because otherwise he'd be dead. He is capable of being chopped up, blown apart, and the pieces can actually come back together. He was skewered through the head before he went to his rest in Jeepers Creepers 2, and he was in pain. He felt that. Which, again, goes to the theory that maybe it's the hood that's the creature and not the creature itself, because it did hit the hood. Just it wasn't killing shot. Why they didn't burn the body? I mean, did they ever say they tried to burn the body in Jeepers Creepers 2? Like after they had the body there, and when his hand got separated, I believe it was in the third one, it did eventually crumble to dust. So its body can clearly be destroyed somehow. So why, again, I go to my nuke option. I'm not saying actually nuke the damn thing, but napalm's an option. You don't need a lot of it. Localized area, napalm his ass. See what happens. How do you react to that? But yeah, again, hypothetically, if he were in the center of a nuke, would he survive? On that answer, I almost 100% believe no, he would not, because the hood would be vaporized. So even if the hood is the creature and the creature can survive most things, if the hood's vaporized, he's gone. And if he's at point blank or even a mile away from that nuke, he's gone. He's done. But anyway, I digress. So the creature, is humanoid in shape, looks very much kind of like a gargoyle, really, because he has a pair of wings. Much more physically powerful than us, capable of, I believe, crawling on walls as well. He has claws, he has fangs, he is a human eater. And his regeneration is all paramount on the fact that when he finds a part he needs to replace or a part he likes, he will take it and he will eat it, and it will just basically grow in his body. This is how he recovered from the car crash. This is how he recovers from losing his head. This is how, at the end of the movie, the first movie, when you see him take Jake Long, he has his eyes now, because the whole time when we see him, his eyes were getting glossing over and becoming like milky. So it was clear his eyes were going bad and he wanted new eyes. He liked his set of eyes. The Creeper is immensely powerful, as well as being very smart. He's a strategist. He's a tracker. He's a hunter. He has what we believe to be enchanted weaponry, usually made from human bone, like the shuriken, which can seemingly track its opponent. The truck itself is a death trap. It literally has multiple weapons coming from it. I believe he also has a battle axe, which is also made partly out of human bone. I mean, it's got the metal layer, but it's partly made from human bone. It seems to etch runes into it to have some sort of ability. So that's impressive. So the question would just be then, who wins in the fight here? First off, how would this happen? Well, the lament configuration is opened in the area the Creeper is inhabiting. The people running from the Cenobites end up getting stuck. Maybe in the farmhouse. The Cenobites show up in the farmhouse, but the Creeper's also there because he smells something he likes on him. And maybe he, hypothetically, let's say he like plows through all the minions before getting to Pinhead. And Pinhead would definitely be a little confused by this thing, because is it you are not human? Your blood, your flesh, it's not of a man, but stolen like a stupid guy, like a man wearing a suit of flesh. I shall peel that flesh from your bones. And so he attacks the Creeper. And for all the Creeper's strength, when those hooks come in, I don't think the creature has that supernatural strength to let me rephrase that. I don't think he has the physical strength to outmatch the supernatural change. He's not one of those characters. But he does have the wings. He opens the wings, he kind of flies up and does get himself free. He launches his shuriken, which does hit Pinhead. Now, the big question, ultimately, for this fight is just going to be, and this is ultimately how the fight's going to have to break down, is the Creeper even capable of hurting? Injury from a bullet that doesn't really hurt is one thing. I'm talking about injury to the point of, I felt that. What? And he's actually hurt. I wrote a story. Pinhead shows up in the story I wrote for me and my friends, where he is in a fight. And I wrote it in a way where he actually was injured. He feels pain, sure, but he's so used to pain that doesn't bother him. But no, in the scene I wrote, he's actually injured. This is different. This is different than the pain of torture, pleasure, control. This is actual pain of being injured, of being vulnerable. I haven't felt that in eons, or in decades. What the hell? Can the Creeper's weapons hurt him? That's the problem. That's the question we have to ask. And I think it really comes down to the question of, what is the Creeper? If it's alien tech, well, we have no idea how alien tech would really work on Pinhead. That would be a fun crossover, something to do with aliens. Any type of aliens, by the way. But if it's alien, maybe? If it's demonic and magic is involved, then the answer would probably be yes. They should be able to, at very minimum, hurt him in a way that he's not fond of. So let's just hypothetically go off the idea of the demon, and we know that there's something up with those weapons, so it seems mystical in nature. So let's assume mystical in nature. So he gets hit by the shuriken. He doesn't think anything of it until it actually hits him, and it goes right through him. That hurt. You think? And then he just kind of summons his axe and just chops the chains, and he just grins and kind of you think you can inflict pain on me and get away with it? I am the master of pain and pleasure. I will tear your soul apart. And so, he summons out more chains. The Creeper's now just charging through, just roaring at him. And eventually he's able to kind of hook him, but unfortunately it does cause him to get into the action. It's just, and the creeper's just kind of drilling it in there. Yeah. And he can more or less pick up on weaknesses in people with no problem. The creeper, while not a human, is still humanoid and still kind of humanoid in behavior in a manner. So he can pick up on kind of where the weaknesses are maybe on this creature, and he realizes, oh, I see. And then he starts to wrap around his head, and the creeper starts to freak out as it hooks into the hood. It starts to just rip the hood off. It's like, oh, you will suffer like no other. And just rips the hood off, and grabs the hood, and he just lights the hood ablaze with hellfire. And it just burns and just screeches. And the creeper's body just falls like a husk. And and then he spears it with all the hooks he can, and the creeper's done. Why do I think, despite the fact I gave the creeper the ability to hurt Pinhead, do I think Pinhead would win? I think the fact that, A, I am speculating on if the creeper can actually hurt Pinhead. I was being generous, A, for the sake of a more interesting fight, but B, because of what the information we have kind of implies. But even with that said, the creeper doesn't fight supernatural entities. The creeper doesn't fight anyone but humans, and mostly dumbass teens most of the time. The creeper really, we just don't know how the creeper would fare against a non-human opponent with supernatural powers, particularly when his opponent can summon and spam chains from anywhere without issue. That's a problem the creeper just can't really address. Add on to the fact that those hooks are supernatural based, so they can just continue to skewer into his flesh. I fully believe that while the creeper might be able to get a good lick in here or there, particularly with his like a surprise weapon like the shuriken, I don't see it being his victory, only because even if he's capable of hurting him to some degree, he doesn't really have any method of killing him, save maybe, and I use the stress the maybe a decapitation with his axe. And again, that's going under a lot of assumptions. So, yeah, I will give this one to Pinhead, definitely. I think a creeper would be a much tougher opponent than a normal human for Pinhead, that's for certain. And he might even get a good couple hits in. But I think Pinhead would be something entirely out of the creeper's league. But I digress. What do you think? Do you think the creeper could pull the win out, or do you think Pinhead would take the win? And why do you think that? What do you think the creeper actually is? What do you think he has any way of actually hurting Pinhead? Let me know in the comments below. Until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you folks next time.